Couple of pepper mills. They're going to get shipped out to two of my sisters today. That's my third and fourth one, so it's an evolving design. That's
What's the wood?
ambrosia maple.
Okay, I was going to guess that.
It's that rub-on polyurethane, oil and polyurethane finish.
Okay.
I like to call it Paul Profit finish.
You have to buff
Yeah.
it after that, isn't it?
No, you don't have to buff it.
Is that the first time you tried it?
No, I've used it before on a couple of bowls.
Okay.
What's the brand there?
General Finishes. I know Woodcraft carries it. I'm not sure who else.
Oh, WTF.
Huh?
WTF. They call it wood turner's finish.
Oh, okay.
I was thinking WTF.
Yeah, but somebody put that in a blog and described it as WTF. By the time I got done laughing, I realized it's wood turner's finish.
Yeah, it's really easy to use. Yeah.
I do have something. I got the question the other day from the young ladies here. Somebody brought in some finish a little ways back that they sold, where they mix up containers or something like that. Does anybody recall that, or who brought it in? You know, the Turner's finish?
I know what the Turner's finished, and I know that guitar guy had all kinds of finishes up there. That
No, there was somebody that came in here. Do you know what kind of containers they were?
It was in a plastic quart bottle, and it was $15
Ron
for.
Brown's stuff out here on the shelf. Talk about Ron Brown's
walnut oil or whatever.
stuff he's got on sale out here. I think that's what you're looking for.
Okay.
I'm not sure if it is. There was somebody that came in that had something else before Ron had introduced his.
Oh, was it Alan Knoll?
Because
Could be.
he bought it in bulk and then split it up. And a bunch of us walked out with quart containers of it.
Yeah, that's not the quart that's in that other thing either.
That's not right.
And
You
it was
don't still have
$15 a quart.
And let's move on to the next
Sounds like a drug.
object here.
First one's
That's
free.
mine. I'm Wendell Dennison. My daughter wanted a recipe box, so I decided to do something and give her a little extra, so that's the inlay. George North is the one that did the inlay, or the insert, and he's not here today. I don't think George ever missed a meeting, but wanted to see us.
He's a local man today.
Okay. Anyway, he did, and actually that turned into sort of a community project because George did the insert. Hans brought in some wooden hinges about a month ago and gave me the idea to maybe do the hinges, which I did. And then Rob was nice enough to allow me to come to the Taj Mahal of Gwinnett County Woodworkers. And I used his taller capacity bandsaw to separate the lid from the box. So thanks to all three of you for that. And it's made out of jatoba or Brazilian cherry with maple, the lighter color.
Awesome. Okay, we're starting on this side. It's going to be a choice. I'm going to say this is probably yours.
What? Yes.
Okay.
They look almost as good as.
Well, it was. They were close to Marcus's.
Almost good as.
Almost as good as Marcus's. And that's what the problem is I'm running into.
Ouch.
Well, what I'm saying, how long have you been doing it?
I've been doing it 15 years.
15 years, and Marcus has been doing it for less than a year.
Yeah.
Ever knocks a boots, or whatever he says.
But anyway, now this is not segmentation, it is intarsia. And why is it intarsia, George?
It's intarsia because it's made out of the natural colors of the wood.
So we've got cedar.
Red cedar. The green is poplar.
Okay.
And the stems are western cedar.
Okay. Now that's one way to give a rose, and you don't have to worry about giving it 2 or 3 times for Valentine's Day.
Well, I made the one that's going to the right like that. And when I showed it to my wife, she looked up on the wall, and we've got a couple things beside the clock.
And she wanted the other way.
And believe it or not, the frame's perfect size for that. So we're going to take those things off and put. But she had to have one going to the right and one going to the left. So I had to reverse it, the pattern, and make one for the left.
Gee, you can't satisfy some people.
Okay.
She's happy with it.
You've got right wing flower and left wing flower.
Okay. Then we've got a duck back here, and that's a by George also.
That's one of the items that in the book it says is a good start item. And of course I try to teach anybody I can, so I decided to make one of those to kind of get the feel of it. So if anybody wanted to learn something about intarsia, we might use that as a first item for them.
And that's like similar to the dolphin
Yeah.
as the first one, because it doesn't have, it's probably got what, maybe 25 pieces maybe?
Yeah, not too many pieces, and it gives you a little bit of everything in it. You know,
Okay, and that one looks like it probably what, walnut,
you know, I don't know what all.
cherry, maybe some aspen, some more white over
I
here,
think the beak is yellow heart.
yellow. Okay, I'll give you a word on that. Then it's got a white collar.
Yeah, that's aspen, and the
Okay.
other part, most of it's.
Then we got a Santa Claus here, a big Santa Claus. Does this work better or not?
That, you know,
That's good.
we've been after Dick to make Santa Claus like the ones I've been bringing in.
Yeah.
For about 3 years, his wife's been bugging him, and he finally got around to making one. So I found out she collects Santa Claus. I think she's got, what, over 200?
Oh, so now she's got another one, right?
So I figured that she probably didn't have one just like that, so I brought that show and tell tonight, and I'll give it to Dick to take home to her.
Does she keep them out all year, or just bring them by Christmas time?
Pardon me?
Does she keep them out all year?
At our house, Thanksgiving afternoon, all the kids line up the stairs, and we pass tub after tub after tub up the stairs, and she worked for about 2 weeks setting it all out. Every horizontal space in the house, I think, has got at least 2 Santa Clauses in it.
That work okay?
After then New Year's, the grandkids and the kids aren't there, and so guess who has to haul?
I think I'd have a new party.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I know that.
Get another family party going.
Okay, and then George over here too?
No, that's the one, that's one.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay, that's what I thought. Okay, so you got one more here.
Ones of mine, yeah.
You're on it.
That's his, and that is one that's kind of in the easy range,
What?
the penguin.
And, yeah, that was not too bad.
Yeah, it's easy, I made one.
Is this yours, Marcus?
No,
I'm sorry, okay. I
I
apologize.
got it twin.
Okay, as
I'm a
long
copycat.
as we're on Ontario, this was the one that caused all the problems. This was the original one.
How long you been doing it? How long have you been doing it, Tarsha? Is that your first?
No, not the intarsia problems. This caused the problem with the wife.
Yeah.
This had nothing to do with the intarsia. I apologize. I didn't mean to do it that way. This was the wife. Wife wanted the Santa Claus one and been telling him to go see George for quite a while. So you went over to George and
2 days with George, and he just outstanding.
And I didn't do it. I mean, he actually did the work. I wouldn't do it.
So what kind of wood do you have in this one?
Red
It's
cedar.
aromatic cedar, aspen, walnut.
Looks like you got oak for the face?
Red oak.
Yeah, I'm sorry, yes.
Because he's got lines. He's old.
Yeah, an old folk.
I want to see his Santa Claus. He got 500 of them. He must be an old man.
Okay. And then I usually don't bring a whole lot of stuff in, but I had my saw and it was working well, so I brought in some fret crosses. This one is oak, and that's the butterflies, and that one's a pain in the butt. Has 269 inside cuts. And then this is medical, which is a piece of cedar, and if the people that have been around me long enough, what kind of wood is it made out of?
Scrap.
Free wood.
Free wood, huh?
See, I found a cedar chest along the side of the road, and so I picked it up. I was gonna sand it off, and I said, no.
Actually, it looks pretty good from the back.
Well, there's nothing on it that can be read that way, so it's not a reversible one. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So anyway, so what I did is I said, well, I'll leave it on there. So that was a piece of a cedar chest. That was the outside of the cedar chest.
Are those sume patterns?
Yes. And then this is the fireman's.
How long does it take you to make one?
This one took me about 13 hours.
Swap sides, Hans.
I can get out of the way.
Your butterfly one,
Yes.
you can actually call it a hospice one, because hospice's emblem is butterfly.
Yep. But if you look at this one, and I'm going to steal it out of here, if you look at this one, the hardest part is the wording on the bottom.
Oh, yeah, I saw that earlier.
You can press, that's oak, and the fire one is oak, and then we've got, that other one's cedar, and that's just the way it came out. Yes, sir.
What blade do you use on those? Is that 3 or 5? Is that?
3 and 5 ultra. Ultra reverse is that's what I predominantly use. I mean, that's where I can make my turns and do all my stuff. So.
Got a pen.
So as,
Who did the pen?
and Wayne should, I mean, as
That's one I did, Jimmy Rocker. That's one of the kits from Penn State, the gunmetal click pen. The wood is maple from down home, left over from some of the bowls that I did here in the past. And the finish is lacquer sanding sealer and lacquer.
Mm-hmm.
You got a group in Tarsia?
That's got to be.
I figure George has got to have something to do with some of those.
It's got to be George, and one have to be.
Well, I brought that middle one in last week. Of course, I know what the wood is in that. That's pine and I didn't know. but on the other two, I'm glad Jane showed up today. So if anybody wants to know what that pink wood is and that other wood, she'll have to tell you, because I made that from some scraps she gave me from exotic flooring. And, it's come in real handy a few times. Of course, the center of that was yellow heart. I know that one.
And you got some butterflies over there too.
So it's a set of 3.
I figure one of these years Jane's going to run out of that flooring.
Actually, the way George uses it.
What are you down to, about 3 pallet loads now?
94.
Oh, okay.
It sure has come in handy.
Okay, next we have a box here. Who's, that looks like a work in progress from Mickey here.
I figured I might want to have something to work on during the show, so I started doing that. It's a stationary box. I thought people might be interested in the assembly and the pattern. Don't move it. Don't move it.
Oh, you're focusing?
Yeah. If anybody tried to use the like in a pattern transfer process.
That's what the same stuff you showed us when you were doing the turning, right? Of the.
Yeah, I used I used the last little bit I had of a can, bought a new can at Lowe's, Woodworking.
Oh. Hey, I had the same problem. I bought one and I couldn't make, after that process, I went and got it, I couldn't make it work. I said, I guess I didn't do something right.
I took that one back and went to Home Depot, got another can, it wouldn't work. So I finally went to Howard Brothers and got a can that's yellow, I make the name of it, yellow can, but it says 1853 or something like that, works perfect.
So the recipe for the lacquer thinner makes a big difference.
Yeah, I think they've watered down to something lacquer thinner at Home Depot.
One of the things that I noticed for lacquer at Home Depot and Lowe's, if you read the fine print on there, it says for tool cleaning. Yeah. So I tried using it for spraying lacquer, and I was having terrible results. So I started going to Sherwin-Williams and getting good stuff.
So you really don't want to have to draw that. But using this lacquer thinner process takes about 1 minute to put that on.
Yeah, for those who don't understand quite what he's talking about, what he does, he prints out that pattern on a laser printer.
Must be laser.
It must be a laser with toner. And then what he does, he lays that flat down on a piece of wood, rubs it with lacquer thinner, and transfers the toner off of the paper onto the wood. And it is just miraculous how that happens. It doesn't take any time at all. I mean, it's just seconds.
Finish over this.
I'm gonna carve it.
Yeah, he does that transfer of the pattern as a guide for carving.
out.
Each one's got a job.
Come on, take
Where we at here?
You're up on the show and tell.
Oh, that's a piece of ash. I colored it to make the grain stand out and show the different things that you can do with ash. And it's got dye in it, and then it's got rub and buff, gold rub and buff worked into the grain structure. And then the other one on the other end of the table here is pretty much the same thing, only it's got a square rim on it, and the rim is just burned, no fill on that. The inside is the natural color, but it's got copper fill. And on the back side, it's got silver, gold fill, and I titled that one The Faces of Ash.
Cool.
It's also got some ash tree knots in it, too.
Cool. That's pretty nice. Very nice.
Got some birdhouse ornaments here.
Those are mine. Those are family deer antler and red tip, all natural edge. They're all hand threaded.
Oh, so they're boxes actually. Oh.
Are those finials?
What's the? I didn't hear you say. What's the body made out of? The box.
The big one is that's elk antler, and the next one is deer antler, and the last one over there is out of red tip.
Oh, okay. Oh, nice.
Hey, Dan,
You threaded all of those pieces?
even the perches are threaded.
Oh, so everything is threaded. All the stuff that fits in there is threaded. Okay.
There's somebody who seriously doesn't have anything else to do.
You got a little hat.
Yeah, on Tuesday I had a chance to attend a workshop with Joe Rominski, and we had two projects. One was the hat, one was that twisted stem goblet next to it. Fairly happy with the way the hat turned out. The goblet is probably a throwaway piece because the stem is, quite frankly, way too thick, but at least I learned how to do it, and it was, if you ever have a chance to take a class with Joe Rominski, it is definitely worthwhile. He's outstanding. He used to be an elementary school teacher, so he could relate to me.
Yeah, is this a
That's
thread
a
right
piece
there?
of dogwood that I did. Actually, it was a gift from Mike Peace, but and then I did that little bell out of hickory and
You even got a clanger in.
yeah. The clapper is a little piece of a bamboo shish kebab stick and a bead.
Worked.
Yeah, it works. It won't, yeah, I wanted to figure out how to do that.
Yeah. Charles?
I went to Dixie Biggs' class at Campbell last fall, and that was the practice piece that we did to learn techniques. And if you ever see her, she has dozens of those, and I think it turned out pretty good. It's just too bad
nice.
It's just a piece of wood.
Yeah.
But, you know, it is what it is. So that was the practice piece, and the bowl that's over behind Jack's is the one I started carving. That was a bowl I turned in '09, and it's always been my least favorite bowl, so I thought I'd carve on it, and so I started it up there and finished it about 5 or 6 weeks ago. And I actually like it a lot better now than I did.
That's nice. Some other ornaments here?
And those are tonight's program. The one on the right is Bradford pear, I believe, so that one doesn't have much in the way of grain going for it. The one on the left, I believe, is spalted sweet gum, so that gives it a little bit more interest to the top. But that's what we'll be doing tonight, is making one of those.
Okay. Anything else?
Yep. I got to do an unveiling.
We got the grand unveiling occurring over here.
I just need an end of the table here. This is brighter.
There it is.
Oh, that's great.
6-minute base too.
And that's the part that goes to it. This is my this is a Quasar. This was named by my grandson and sent to me by my grandson. And that's my interpretation of it. And I don't know, you got it. I'll just twist it around a little bit. I don't know how anybody wants to best see it. But.
You're gonna add a finial going through the middle?
Well, the stripe is supposed to represent.
You need a laser.
Yeah, put some smoke in and then put a laser through it.
A little strobe light effect when you display it. That'd be pretty
Now
cool.
Maybe dry ice.
Now the real.
There you go.
I didn't build it as a Quasar. I had my aviation kind of thing in it, and it was going to be a roll with smoke. And that had a sexual connotation, so I had to call it a barrel roll with smoke. And then I didn't like it. So my grandson rescued me with a Quasar. And accidentally, I made a Quasar.
Didn't even know what it was.
Oh, this is
Lay on some hay.
this is mesquite and holly.
Oh,
Looks better than the last time I saw it.
And boy, that was slick too. I just got one tear in my back of my hand. Good.
Okay, as Dan shows the object here, if it's yours and you want to speak up about it, please do.
All right, that one is the sign I made in my workshop. I thought it'd be good when I record my YouTube videos to have my logo in the background somehow, so I decided to make a sign. I cut it out of the letters and stuff with a scroll saw, and the back board is just a 1/4-inch piece of plywood, and I used masking tape around the edges before I painted it black to make kind of a border around it.
good.
That looks awesome. Oh, thanks. It took about 2 hours to cut out all the letters and everything on the scroll saw.
What's the font?
I'm not really good at the scroll saw.
What's the font you use?
It's Comic Sans, I think. No, it starts with a one ONE, one something script or something. Yeah, good. Could use it very fine. I just want to do my own. Cool.
You got a little bandsaw box in?
Yeah.
That's
It was listed as the world's largest or longest.
yeah, that's the world's longest bandsaw box, I think. But there's summerswoodworking.com is having a 2x4 contest. So I took a 2x4 and cut it in half and glued it together, and then just made a 4-foot bandsaw box out of it. That's our 2x4 contest. Yeah.
This is a basket made in the Nantucket style. It's made out of caning and cherry bottom to it. This is a poplar handle, and I found that stuff bends like a wire. You know, you soak that thing overnight, and you can come in the next day and almost make a full turn out of it. This has double lacing around the top border. It has bone ivory finials on the side, and it has about 5 or 6 coats of lacquer, and it's. I'm going to put that in the Georgia Art Fair this time, but this is the one I was working on in the program a couple weeks ago. I started it, had it about, it takes about 20 hours or so to make one, because you go about an inch an hour of weaving and other things as well, and so, but anyway, it's something I've done.
Where do you get the bone ivory? What is it actually made of now?
I get that out of Perkins, out of Connecticut, H.H. Perkins. That's the most expensive thing in the whole thing. Somebody asked us the other day, how much do these things cost? I think probably about $3 or $4 worth of caning in it. That's all it costs. And a strip of wood here, you know, what is that? And a piece of cherry, you know, that's a piece of scrap. But the finials are about $18 a piece, a pair. And as I said the other day, the way you attach that thing, you have a brass scutcheon pin through there, and then you take a brass washer on it, and you put a drop of solder on it, and it holds it, and you can replace it. And I may even replace the handle, I don't know. It's just a matter of melting the solder joint and putting it on there. But the finials are the most expensive part of it all. And Perkins from Connecticut has the molds and so forth. I made the molds years ago, and other molds as well. And it takes a mold for the handle, it takes a mold for this, it takes a mold for the inside, and it takes several molds are involved in these things, and yet they are all the same size. This size is the same size as any other one, like it's 7 inches across, 7 1/8 or so, plus about 6 inches high. And so that's from the Nantucket style. To me, it's a beautiful piece of art and not so much a basket case.
What's the value on one of those? At least $18.
The value would probably be a couple hundred. On a Nantucket basket pocketbook, which is oval with a lid, you're talking $1,200, $1,500.
Yeah. All depends on where it's made.
Even a Japanese, and I got one at the house and I picked up at Goodwill, $2. But a Japanese is $300 at Cracker Barrel, and it's nothing like this. And so this is a Nantucket style. Nantucket. It ain't Nantucket because it's not made in Nantucket. But I'll say that it's a good slow learner at Nantucket basket. First man at Nantucket make a basket like that, he'd be darn pretty good.
Yeah, this looks like some.
That's something I started doing
Oh, okay.
years ago. All of my family comes to my house on Christmas Eve. We have our Christmas dinner. Of course, we always line up and take a picture. And I started making these three-dimensional pictures. And to follow up on that, the meeting we had in when we went to Greenville last week, Bob took a picture of the whole group, and I managed to do that one as soon as we got back. If you would, Bob, pass that one around.
Okay.
See how it's made. You've got about 4 or 5.
Oh, both of them?
Well,
No, I didn't.
that one in
I
particular.
didn't have that one on the camera.
Oh, okay.
Well, if we're going to pass it around.
It looks like I've got a lot on display today, and the reason for it is a lot of the stuff I'll have maybe 2 or 3 things working in my shop at a time, and they all came together this week. So, that is it's a kids group called Kingdom Rock. It's a church group of campsite, some kind of camping site or something like that. And I saw the lion I kind of fell in love with, so I looked online and found a picture of it and drew the pattern and made that. The one behind it is another church group, which is a grief sharing and divorce assistance group. I think that's our church. That's their logo, you might say. I had that, I made those hands just 2 or 3 months ago, and I finally got it all together this last week. And I have one other thing here. It's not new, but we brought it to possibly use in the show, and I thought y'all might be interested in seeing it. It's a table I keep on my back porch. Now, like I said, when my family comes, we have probably 22, 23 people, so we can't eat in my little dining room. I have a porch. It's also my display room for my in Target. But on that porch, we have 3 tables, this being one of them. Of course, this one we can open up, if I can handle it here. Bob, you want to give me a hand? So there you go. That open up to there, of course, you got about 4 feet.
Come to the other side.
It's pretty compact when it's down. You can keep it over in the corner. When you need it, you just pull it out and open it up like that, and you got a lot of people around this one. So this is something I did. I don't think I put my date on this one, but I did this several years ago.
It's good for the kids.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. And I'll fold it back up so we get out of the way.
Looks like a big overgrown TV tray, huh?
Yeah, Rip Dyke that.
Yeah. We got one more item here that Ted's going to tell us about, that its significance. I don't know if you need to stand up here to talk about it.
Well, what I did a few years ago, I was trying to dye some wood, because the only dyed wood I could find comes in like a 32mm, whatever size it is, it's real thin. And the reason, I guess, is because the pigments in the dyes won't penetrate so far in the wood. So I was trying to soak some wood and dye it. I bought that dye that you see in the round container is, I think I bought it at Highland Hardware, and it's a German dye. So it comes in a powder form, and it has several colors. And I also had some rich dye that you buy, and I mixed this stuff up, and I had some pieces soaked, different thick pieces, soaking in some plastic container. And that was probably 12, 13 years ago. And it never worked. I let them soak a couple of months, and I'd take a piece out, and as soon as you cut it, the dye was just right on the top. And I needed something where, you know, the color went all the way through. Well, last night I was pulling something out I hadn't used in a long time. Actually, I was getting ready to sharpen the chisel with my water stones, and I hadn't used one in a while, so that other container, I had forgotten what was in it. I heard something out. So I opened the little plastic container up, and that was a wood that had dried out. And it probably been soaking, I know it's been soaking 10 years. But the thing I was surprised,
we can't wait that long.
All the pieces I had in there, the color was all the way through.
We're a little older weight than you.
Is this the cut edge?
That's the first time I had seen that. I still don't know how long it took for it to, you know, do that or whatever, but I do want to try it again with some thicker wood, because some things I make, I want to use some thicker colored wood as soon as you cut it. At different angles, you see the white or whatever color the wood was inside.
You know which dye it was?
It's the, read that container, the white, the one.
See if you zoom in on the white container.
But there's some German dyes that a friend of mine, David McDonald, who's an excellent refinisher. There should be a brand name on the front. It's a toy maker's dye. And those things were real expensive. I had, I guess, like I said, I got about 6 or 7 different colors I was going to use them to make some earrings and all. I just wanted to have some color to it. This was thicker and I couldn't find any. So I'm going to go back and play with this stuff again and see how long it takes. But I was really surprised that the color penetrated all the way through.
Have you experimented with water temperatures as well as the dye itself?
I was just experimenting with that, just putting it in water, and, you know, dissolving
Yeah,
stuff and putting it in water.
Similarly, I've heard people having good results with heat and or pressure.
Well, see, the pressure I didn't have.
Right.
Heat I didn't deal with. I wanted something I could actually just soak the stuff and see what happened. But I gave up on it because nothing ever happened. But I'm encouraged now to go back and play with some of it, particularly with some colors. I want to see if I can get something that's half an inch thick or whatever I can do with the application.
Now, there is a technique that you can use that might also help if you use vacuum on it. I just recently got a stabilizing tank for impregnating wood with resin, which would work just as well with dye. And you can use an old refrigerator compressor and pull a really good vacuum on it. But like for long pieces of wood, you could get you a piece of pipe with caps on it and whatever adapters it takes to hook that in.
You put your wood in there, you fill the thing to cover the wood up with your dye, suck out all the air and leave it for a couple of hours, and then when you let the pressure back in, it's going to suck the dye into the wood. I tried that. But I mainly brought it also to give everybody else an idea of something you might experiment with, because I have no idea how I came up with, you know, how long it took, number one, and how, you know, the process works with this. There may have been some barometric pressure changes to help suck out. I'm sure. I know it's been in there at least 10 years. So over the 10 or 12 years, I have no idea what's happening in the shop or inside the container.
We put dye on wood and wait 10 years, a lot of things will see it.
Or if we do, we'll forget what it was for.
Well, if I wouldn't look for something else, I wouldn't have found that. I thought it was interesting. That's why I brought it to share with the group.
Pulling a vacuum is pretty safe, Bob, but anybody who wants to experiment with temperature and pressure better be very cautious, because you can really hurt yourself.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that wind up being a different color possibly.
Yeah. Blood.
Dan puts the camera on the object. If you would acknowledge it and tell us a little bit about it.
I'm Ron, that's a peppermill. Oh, okay, that's an end grain cutting board. I've made variations of that one before. That's from a pattern that was in Wood Magazine years ago. That particular one is cherry, walnut, and maple. And it's just it's a common pattern. You can find it anywhere on the internet. Does anybody have any questions on how you do an end grain cutting board?
I guess not.
Okay. I just run them across the sled and stand them up, you know, and then take a $1,000 drum sander to sand them with.
Yeah.
That's a different pattern that I tried, and that is maple and sapele. And sapele must be a lot softer than purple heart, because I have another one at home that I'm still sanding and it's miserable and it's purple heart. But I make these for wedding gifts.
They're so nice looking. Does anybody ever use them for a cutting board?
Do you remember the one I made with the brick pattern with the mortar and the legs on it?
Yeah.
That still sits wrapped up in saran wrap at home. No, she has one of these that she uses. My God, we wouldn't use that. Are you kidding me? And most of the ones I give, that's the answer.
I would use it if you gave me one.
You play your cards right, sweetheart. We may work on something.
A side comment, a friend of mine made one of these like this, then tried to put it through his DeWalt planer. And I said, do you realize how much shrapnel is in one of those things?
Remember the part about the $1,000 drum sander? Yeah, that's all about.
Jerry Jones, those are various pepper mills that I've made. The two on the right here, I actually made for Christmas presents. It came back to me. Well, because they wanted some sort of piece to put the salt and pepper mill in on the table. All right, so I made this little piece here. It's out of a scrap piece of cedar I had, and just bored a couple holes with Forstner bits so that these would fit in there. And those are made out of regular maple. And I turned a couple during the wood show. This one, that's ambrosia maple. I haven't put the mechanisms in them yet. That's the next step. I did finish it, probably needs another coat on it. And just to experiment, I did this one where I sort of reversed the pattern. Showed that to somebody and they said, that's too top heavy. I went, ooh, okay. So I may make something else out of it, but I don't know. I'm not sure whether I like it or not. It was an experiment.
After you get one to that stage, if you need to change the shape of it, can you?
Yeah, you can, as long as you got enough wood underneath. They've only got like a 1-inch bore in them, so there's still plenty of.
Oh wow!
Okay. Still plenty of wood there. Yeah.
Oh, you got plenty of that.
So I could take these completely off for that matter, but I haven't decided what to do with it yet.
The mechanism doesn't add any weight to the bottom.
Not really, no. I mean, they're actually pretty lightweight, the mechanism is.
So that's not gonna help with that issue?
No, and no. That was just the reaction, initial reaction I got. That looks too top heavy, you know. I'll do something with it.
Okay, those are mine, and it's just to show my 2 scroll saw mentors that since Monday night I've been working my little tushy off. And to get my 6 projects for next month's meeting. I beat my goal. And so that's all that is, just to show that I'm finally actually trying to do something. And that pattern for the little cradle, Marcus sent that to me a year ago when I first arrived. So
And I gave it to you also.
yes, yes you did. But I actually had to size it down because
for your
people
dolls.
that make Barbie patterns and scroll saw magazines apparently don't play with Barbies because they're too big. So that was just all that is. Just they will be finished at some point in time, hopefully by next month.
You want to start with a rifle?
Yep.
Okay. Unlike most of the stuff here, that's mine. Didn't make that. I'm Bob Black, and I made it. It goes back a ways. My father-in-law was a small bore shooter, and he decided he wanted a weird rifle, so that's what he came up with. He had a FN commercial Mauser Action. It was barreled in at Benning at the MTU. It's somewhere between a bench gun and a sporter. The stock is, all I had to do with it was the stock. It's curly maple, made to fit him. He died in '83, so this is something that goes back a ways. And for you guys that were in this sort of hobby a way back, when you had Constantine's in New York and a place in Chicago that you could get tools and wood, I was buying briar blocks for pipes from Constantine. That was the only place I knew and the only thing I knew that was exotic wood that you didn't buy from Educational Lumber up in Asheville. And the grip tip on that is briar. Came from Constantine. Finish is true wool.
Not only do we have the attention of people in class, we have a police officer looking through the window at the gun.
Yeah, we got a local Leo out here listening to your presentation.
You're welcome to come visit.
True wool, which is going to start finish.
Okay, the next one over there is banjo that looks like it's got a story behind it.
Yeah, that's mine. I'm Bob Aldea. That's a cookie tin banjo. I've been meaning to build it for a few years and finally got around to doing it. It's Purple Heart, curly maple, scrap wood I had, and about 30 bucks in parts. So now I have a banjo. I still don't know how to play it. If there's anybody here who does know how to play one, you can try demonstrating it.
Ricky does. Little Rick out there. I might get him to come here and play around.
When
You go get it?
Sure.
Yeah.
I'll get here and see what it sounds
Well, you don't have any picks, or anything?
Oh, he's a bluegrass player. Yeah. The whole point of this is I got carried away on the neck. It's a little bit more than a cookie tin banjo deserves. But for $5 I picked up a cookie tin, and that's a cheap way to get a banjo going. And it sounds okay to me, but not really what I was looking for. So I was thinking about putting a wood pot on it, and I may do that one day.
I want to see what it sounds like.
You play?
Not really.
He lied?
It sounds like you do. I play guitar and fiddle and mandolin. I've held a banjo.
Well, I can't play it at all.
Oh man, it's beautiful. I want to see what it sounds like.
If you can pick it some, go.
Ooh, a little out of tune. I got a tuner on my phone if you want me to go tune it up real quick. Can't really tune much on it or play anything on it right now.
tuned before I wrapped it in a towel and stuck it in the bag.
Bravo! There you have a $30 banjo.
I was on the road at a show somewhere. I have no idea where because, you know, somebody said, well, gee, you came here all the way from Atlanta? And I said, well, sir, on Thursday morning I get up in the middle of the night and go to the airport and I get on an airplane and I ride for a while, and when it stops, there's a wood show there that weekend. This weekend, it's here. And so I don't really remember where the heck I was, but a guy came up to me and he said, I got some of your DVDs and I want to show you some of the tops I make. And usually I go, hey, great, love to see them. On the outside. On the inside I'm going, okay, because I've seen everything. But anyway, this guy had a whole bucket of these little tops. And for once, you know, it's cool. I hadn't seen that, and it's made out of this glued up plywood and stuff. And he told me where he gets it, and one thing led to another, and he gave me this, and he gave me a bunch of blocks of wood like that, and it's colored plywood. So one thing led to another, and to make a long story short, so far I've bought 1,500 pounds of it. Okay? So I'm fascinated by it. And if you want to know
is there a name for that type of plywood?
Do what?
Is there a name for that type of plywood?
This is Stratabond.
Stratabond.
It's made by Rutland's Corporation, and it's sold mainly to people making rifle stocks and bows, compound bows, long bows, all kinds of stuff. It's birch plywood, and this purple is what that looks like. I don't know if you can see that, Ricky. Oh, here we go. Can't see it real well. But we've got that. Anyway, it comes in all kinds of colors, and you can buy this stuff at basically everywhere. You can buy it at Craft Supply, at Woodcraft. You can get it just all over the place. But anyway, so I bought it. This is kind of the stuff I've made out of it. It's really cool. You're welcome to come up and look at them later. When I got the pink, I thought the pink was just hideous. But it turns out that it's actually really, really gorgeous when you see it. It's real hard to translate the finished product into what you actually get. And all this is stuff cut on a bias. You're not going to be able to see that. That's all right. Come up and look at it afterwards. But I'll leave.
Is the acorn threaded?
No, none of these acorns are threaded. As you guys know, I make lots and lots of acorns. This is just kind of a natural plywood. This is black, white, brown. And I have figured out how to make these in a production basis. So I can make these in this condition in about 20 minutes, 25, with that kind of finish. But the unique thing here is I finally came up with a design to make a freestanding box. Because most of the rest of them, as you can see, they don't stand up. And one solution was to do that, but then you end up having to turn 3 pieces instead of 2. You can't get extra money for that. I made a different size. I make these with as automated a process as I can, and they sell a set of ram nose router bits out here for 38 bucks, and one of them will give you a 3/4 inch hole. It's just a round nose router bit. Put it in a drill chuck in the tailstock and drill it. So your holes are always the exact correct size, and it's quick to do, and you don't have anything to do. So this one is small enough to go in a pocket.
Ron, I had my son turned a pen of that pink stuff.
Yeah.
Gorgeous pen.
Yeah.
But he put a CA finish on it, and it cracked all the pieces afterwards. Are you seeing that? Or?
You're the second person that's told me that.
Yeah.
What cracked?
Just the finish, not the pen.
I don't
the pen
know
is
why.
still gorgeous. I think you can go back and refinish and it'll be okay.
Yeah.
But I was just wondering, maybe
No,
this stuff is...
the finish that I use on this, you're dealing with a lot of end grain, because
This plywood is not plywood with alternating grain. This is plywood with everything going the same direction, but you still have a lot of end grain, so you have to seal it real well, either with a sanding sealer or lots of coats of lacquer. And most of this stuff is finished with a matte spray from Home Depot. Okay, just the kind of like Deft, only it's not Deft, it's whatever their house brand is that's matte. And I like it a lot, and it works with about, you don't get good coverage till you get to like the 4th coat. But that only takes 10 minutes. You know,
if it's lacquer, you could probably still buff the heck out of it.
Well, these up here, and this one in particular, is just friction finish.
Okay.
So I did put a sanding sealer on it, on the lathe, and then 5-6 coats of friction finish. So this was about as quick. But anyway, that's what it is. They've started carrying it in the store. If you get tired of just wood, your customers, if you're selling this stuff, will love the colors. Everybody that sees, in fact, my wife when I did all these acorns, she says, those look like Easter eggs. So you could easily make a Easter egg box. Anyway, just this cool stuff. It's something new, something I hadn't turned before. If you're going to make pens out of it, this straight grain is pretty plain. If you just cut it linearly, that's pretty plain. If you'll cut it on a bias like that, that's pretty cool. But you gotta cut on a bias. But I just brought it to show you, just because it's pretty cool.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Now, the top that you showed us first, the tip on the thing is made out of metal. What kind of hardware? Is that something you have to buy?
I've got a link someplace. The guy sells them for 50 cents a piece, plus shipping. And I asked him, you know, could I get a quantity discount if I bought, you know, 500 of them? And he goes, no, only have a limited quantity. So it's actually a rod with a tip on it that they turn. So I didn't make this, guys, but the guy sells a kit. It's something to do with tops, but he sells a kit with this and the O-ring for you to make that, and it's $1.90 or something for everything. It's not expensive. Yes.
If you buy form nails, cut the head off, chuck it in your lathe and file it true, and then cut it off, you get the same effect. Form nails have 2 heads.
Scaffold nails, you know, scaffolding nails.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Except that they're steel, and you gotta coat them with something because they're gonna rust.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've had old tops like that before when I was a kid, and I've always wanted to find the parts to go to it so I can make my own.
Well, you can buy plastic parts, plastic tips. They're readily available.
Ooh.
Well, you can.
Plastic.
If you're going to do it on indoors on a hardwood floor, you want a plastic tip.
Yeah.
You don't want metal. Yes.
I learned how to use those tops when I was in elementary school from a gym teacher. And they made 2 tips. One was a round ball.
Yep.
With which you could do, you know, flip it in the air, catch it. The other one was a spike. And you would have to nail the other guy's top, and if you hit it right, it would split.
It'll split it, yeah.
So
Yeah.
maybe other old guys remember that?
Yep.
No.
My grandpa told me about that.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
Ouch. That's a good one.
All right. Yeah. We made some of Ron gave me a section, pretty good size of pink wood like that to make the breast cancer pins. And I've cut them up, and we made a few of them so far, and we've noticed a few things on them. Using the friction polish, or the sanding seal and friction polish, they come out gorgeous.
Yeah, they do.
And I didn't put anything on after that, it went perfect. And the one thing, by cutting it on a bias, so when you cut it on a bias, if you use the regular pin end mill, I split about 5. I'm trying to do it like that. The best way I found was to take and just clean it up on the end using the sanding disc or something like that.
Yeah.
Because it caught on there and just, you know.
This material doesn't turn exactly like other material. It's very similar, but when I turn this stuff, some of it, well, let me see. If you're going to turn it this direction, you turn it like a spindle. I use roughing gouges and spindle gouges and stuff, but a lot of times you can turn it like this, which, that one I guess, no, that's not it.
You got the one right in front of your hand there.
Which one? No, I want one that's stacked.
Okay, I was gonna say, this one was at an angle.
Yeah, the other way.
Bill's.
Bottle stopper on the
Yeah,
back
here
of
you
your
go,
rack.
this one.
There you go, that one.
This one is actually turned like that. Okay, so now, since you got the grain going like a bowl back and forth, I use bowl gouges. And your tools need to be sharp, and they dull a little more quickly because it's put together with epoxy. But the end result, it was really hard for me to translate something like this to look something like that. The electric blue, which I don't really have, well, I guess this is one of them. That actually looked pretty hideous, the block of wood that you start with. So for me, it was really difficult to visualize what this was going to finish like, because it's kind of like gemstones. You know, you see one in the rough, they look like a rock, you know, in the stream bed. This is one of my wife's favorite colors, and this one is a blue-green color, and it just looks awful in the raw. It really does. But anyway, finished goods, fun stuff. If you want to turn something different, that's it. And by the way, I buy it by the pound, we're selling it by the pound. You're probably saving 50% over what you'd pay at Rockler or any of the other places. I mean, it just, if you're interested in it, it's as cheap as you'll ever find it. Unless you want to buy 1,500 pounds, then you do pretty good. So anyway, any other questions?
Thank you, Ron.
That was it.
Okay, we must have another item up there by now. And I'm waiting for Ricky to get set up. Looks like the bookcase thing there.
This was in a magazine that came out recently, and I made it, and believe me, this head was terrible to make because it's so small, the parts and all. After I made this one, Marcus and I got talking about it, and he's gonna have one in a few weeks. He's gonna make this one look sick. But I went back and increased the size of the head, which made it easier to make. Also, we found this mahogany, and I think the mahogany looks real good because it looks like fur. I just wish I'd have made the whole thing mahogany. I think it would look better. But he's gonna make one comparable to the head here, so it'll be about this big.
So you're scaling the whole creature up?
Yeah, scale the whole creature up to this size for him.
I have a question. About how long does it take to make that big lion?
The big one?
Yeah. You know, just a guess.
You were
about
2 hours. Probably not about 12 hours, I don't know. 10 to 12, something.
2 weeks.
It takes George 12 hours. It takes anybody else 8.
Well, I don't generally start and just go straight through it because I have 3 or 4 projects going all the time, and it's kind of hard to keep time. And I'm doing something now. I'm keeping time on because I know it's going to take many hours to do it. It's like the Last Supper took 155 hours. I actually put down, when I walked in the shop, I put the time down. I'd work on that for 2 hours or 3 hours, whatever it was. I put the time down and kept it that way. So it may, like he said, it may take a month to complete a part, but actually it only takes 10 to 12 hours.
Okay, next object there.
I read some time ago, and I guess it's true, because it's been quoted several times. Albert Einstein said that imagination is far more important than intelligence, because intelligence is limited. Imagination has no boundary. I don't know how much imagination you've got, but I have what I call birdhouses for birds that don't fly. And it comes from a book that I read several years ago by a preacher who was contacted by the janitor of the church one Monday morning. And the janitor said, "Preacher, we got a bird that's in the sanctuary." And that started a book called The Birds in the Aviary, all of the birds in the church. The pew birds, the choir birds, the preacher birds, the migratory birds who come for baptism or for wedding and then fly away, or those who come back home time and time for anniversary. Well, this is a bookish birdhouse. A bird of intelligence. I've always admired that, idea. Anyway, here's a list of some of his books. The Care and the Feeding of Birds by Big Bird. And here's another one, To Kill a Mockingbird. Well, here's one, The Exotic Birds of the South by B.A. Hawke. And then here's one, Famous Quotations by Parrot and Parakeet. And here's one, Avoiding the Bird Flu, CDC. And the last one is Eagle Has Landed. These are bird-related books. The books are made out of plywood that Charlie, those big old round discs that came off of barrel heads that he tried to give away and nobody wanted. Well, I got several of them, and so they make excellent book boards. The books themselves are really three-sided mitered corners, really what they are. They're hollow, all of them are hollow. And what I did, glued them together, then built the end, so forth and etc. And then, of course, some have asked, well, how did you get the pages on that? Actually, I just painted the book, the pages, and with an X-Acto, and it doesn't matter how accurate you are, it gives the illusion of pages. And to carry the theme all the way across, I decided to throw in some twigs on the side that this would go to the Georgia National Fair. And I turned the peg with a plate.
How did you keep the twigs together, Wayne? Huh? How did you keep the twigs together? Is that epoxy or
glue?
Glue?
Plain old cheap Dollar Tree glue.
Okay.
And it's got about 5-6 coats of lacquer on it, though. But use your imagination.
Yeah.
Use your imagination. It's unlimited. What you can do.
I can see Steve studying that thing now. I can see the wheels turning over there. That's why he's head.
We'll get together because my wheels always turn. I can't.
Bob, let me go first and get my question out of the way.
All right, sure.
If you could focus on that leaf. Now, am I right thinking that's a pin oak leaf?
You can't tell by that, Bob.
I know it's some kind of oak. I have about 6 of those trees growing in my yard, and right now they're like 4 feet tall.
Need something to focus on.
Knows any kind of detail about this type of tree?
Move that close by.
Yeah, it's not focusing on that leaf.
It's not oak?
Well, it's not focusing. It won't focus to see it on the screen.
I was wondering if it's a nuisance tree, if I should just cut them in.
From what I recall, because Florida's got an abundance of that species of tree.
No, I don't think it's a pin oak.
Well,
Really?
I'm not sure what a nuisance tree is. How thick is the base on it? Big enough we can make something?
Pencil size.
Oh, well, yeah, cut them down. I'm thinking if it's something I can make a bow or something.
Make it down.
Yeah, you can cut them down, keep them, they don't matter. They're not productive.
Okay, it looks like somebody brought some Georgia Tech license plates, is what it looks like to me.
Yeah, that was my video project this week, was to make a license plate for my wife's van.
Okay.
So I did one with the high school logo, and then I made those 2 with the Georgia and Georgia Tech logos. And I posted a picture of them on Facebook, and immediately somebody wanted to buy both of them. They're sold already. So apparently I'm in the license plate business now.
Yep.
I don't know what kind of wood that is, so if anybody...
Are those...
They were fence boards, and I planed them down to about a quarter.
They look like a cedar.
Yeah, actually I think I did all those with the bandsaw, but my wife's side did some of the squirrel. It's a little small.
I think it's safe to call that found wood.
Green bag.
Okay, this maybe looks like a George here.
Yeah, that looks like a George. I bought the pattern from Judy Gale Roberts, and the pattern calls for the figure to be about this tall, and of course has a lot of detail in it. Along with the main pattern, she sends a smaller pattern, and the smaller pattern, of course, she takes some of the detail out of it. And I had to make it hard on myself, so I took the big pattern and reduced it down with all the details on it, and I don't think I want to make another one. The eyes and things are so small, you had to cut them and use a zero tolerance on your saw, and then you had to handle some of that stuff with tweezers in order to put it together. And it took a while to make. I think it took about 18.5 hours total.
Turned out great.
But I was fairly happy with the way it turned out. At a distance, it was good.
That's all that matters.
I'm gonna do like they do in these galleries. You know, they put a rope up in front of it so you can't get too close, so you don't see the brush strokes. That's what I'm gonna have to do in order to show it.
And it looks like here's something that was done because I keep forgetting to press the record button.
Well, he's not the only one. I've been equally as guilty, so I decided to make a reminder that we can hang from that camera over there where Rob is, so that we can remember sometime other than 3/4 of the way through the program that, gee, you need to press the record button on the thing in order to get recorded video.
You know, on that camera though, not only that people are forgetting it, the angle it's at, but you can hit the button and think it's on, where it really didn't come on. So once you're looking for the little red dot inside,
yeah.
Because I've seen different times where people have actually gone up there and deliberately hit the button to turn it on, and maybe they hit it twice and turn it on and off, but you know, just got to look for the red light inside.
So anyway, after I got done cutting the thing out, I was kind of kicking myself, thinking that, gee, it looks like a real nice piece of wood, but it's kind of unnoticeable, you know, by itself until I sent some pictures of the thing out, and Steve responded with, gee, it needs a red button. So I thought, hey, that'd do it. So that was the latest addition to the thing. Okay, this looks like another George here.
Yeah, being a glutton for punishment, I decided to try that, and of course I didn't have the right tools. I couldn't drill it deep enough. I didn't have the right wood. In a number of reasons it wouldn't work, but when I finally got it so I got a little bit of sound out of it, I said, okay, now I know what it takes to make one. I won't make any more of those. But you can get a little bit of sound out of it.
And there's a couple bowls that I've done. I just turn them green, you know, at the thickness I wanted, and turn them green and let them do their thing in warp. But the thing I wanted to show is I had a hands-on session with Warren Carpenter, and he showed us his finishing technique of using Libron oil and Renaissance wax. And what he does here, he sands it down to 400. He puts a single coat of the Libron oil on, which has a drying agent in it. It'll dry in 24 hours. And if you ever used oil, if you wipe the oil on and then you wipe the excess off, and you come back the next morning, you got all these shiny spots on it while the oil is oozed up out of the pores. Well, he puts the oil on, let it soak for 2 or 3 minutes, and wipes it off. Then he puts a thin coat of Renaissance wax on it. That seals the pores up and keeps the wax inside the pore, or keeps the oil inside the pores so it doesn't ooze out. So then when it's dry the next day, you come back with 4/0 steel, the Libron 4/0 steel wool, take the wax off, and then just buff it with a flannel cloth. And if you want to build up more of a shine, you can just put more coats of wax on. So I'll pass these around, but I think I just like the feel that it gives you. And it's a very easy finish to apply. Anything else?
Okay, yeah. One other thing. A few weeks ago, I showed you all some drumsticks that I was trying to make. I had a customer approach me on wanting me to make some heavy drumsticks so that they could use the weight of the drumstick to train new drummers. He said it, you know, helps build up the muscle quickly. So my first attempt at turning a heavy drumstick. I chose Ipe, and when I didn't get the thing square and didn't get it quite centered and so forth, it didn't turn out as large a diameter as what I was expecting. So this was my second attempt at turning Ipe, but it's still not as heavy as what I was expecting.
He was spending more time on this project than working on furniture.
For somebody who's not a very accomplished turner, I had to do what I could. So at any rate, in order to solve that problem of the weight, I decided to try something heavier next. I went with brass and actually wound up turning out a pretty decent drumstick here. So we'll see if our accomplished drummer here can make any noise with these things. You think?
Sure.
See what his reaction to this thing is. One of them's not completely finished.
Something to bang on.
Put that solid.
Oh wow, this. I don't know if I could do anything with these. Yes. What you do is you find the fulcrum point.
Yeah.
So it feels like it's like right in the middle, pretty much. Usually it's like back here, around right there.
Huh. I guess that's
so you have to choke up on these. But that way, when you play, you use your back fingers too.
Yeah.
You bounce it. Oh, you can go faster.
Having seen what he did with some wood drumsticks, I think he's going to be hard pressed to do anything bad to these.
Yeah, put them right through the
Some of the wood drumsticks that I saw that he had, from rim shots and so forth, had huge.
Oh yeah, this is lighter than the ones I usually use that are thinner actually, because the ones I use are hickory.
Yeah.
So.
Maybe I'll try the Jatoba.
Yeah, that one feels pretty good.
At $8 a foot.
Yeah, well, if I got some scraps left of that, I'll have a go at it. I have a feeling it's probably not going to do much better.
It's heavier.
Yep. Alrighty, that kind of concludes show and tell, unless somebody else has something. Paul, is this part of your regular class, or is this just show and tell?
That's show and tell. That's a project after working on making miniature tools for so many years. A couple of years ago I got bored and I wanted something challenging, so I made a couple dozen of these 1/3 scale Kentucky long rifles. They're completely operational, they will fire, and every part on there, the engraving, the carbon, the casting, it's all done in the shop at Blairsville, Georgia, up in the mountains. But it's what they call a Lancaster style or a Lancaster school. They had different periods or we call them schools, depending on what type of, each rifle had a little different characteristics. So these are classic Lancaster rifles.
What caliber are they?
They're a 1/3 scale of a 54 caliber. I think that's what, .1875, somewhere in that range. What I did is I took a full-size reel, which I did for years on my miniature tools, is I would take the real thing and just basically manufacture every piece, every component, and scale it down to a 1/3 scale. So I took a real rifle, dissected it, and made every part in it. There's 54 pieces in that rifle. I just about finished with the last batch. My next project, I'm going to do a 1/3 scale, be about this big, 1911 Colt 45. I have a friend that it took him 3 years to learn how to make the miniature bullets, and he's dedicated a 12. He gets $50 a piece for each bullet. So.
That's almost as much as the real thing these days.
Exactly.
What size? Like I said, in this case, you put musket balls in. So is it about the size of a BB or a little bit bigger than a BB? The musket ball that would go in there.
What is .1875? Is that
BB is .360.
.17.
Pretty close.
Yeah.
Pretty close.
Pellets are 187.
No, 177.
177.
Yeah, so it's about 1/100th larger.
These two particular rifles here, one of them was the prototype. It is not, the barrels are not rifled. I can rifle the barrels. I built a little CNC rifling machine. When I priced the gun rifled or smoothbore, most people choose smoothbore. You know, it's about $1,500 to rifle one. It's just labor. It's very labor. Even though it's done on CNC, it's very labor intensive.
So, how many times have you fired it at $50 a round?
That's not these. These are black powder.
Oh.
The 1911 is going to use the live cartridges.
How did you make the primers?
It took the guy 3 years to learn the process. He extrudes the shells. He doesn't turn them out of brass. He extrudes them with the extrusion dies, and he actually makes the primer with really fine powder. But he was fortunate. He had a neighbor that worked at an ammunition factory, and he knew the whole process. So over a 3-year period, he perfected it, and everyone's guaranteed to fire. He test fires probably every 10 bullet he'll test fire just to make sure the process is going.
What is the center fire primer?
Exactly, yeah, they're center fire primers.
Paul, do you actually cut screws in 1/3 scale, or do you find a source for those? Or?
It depends. Sometimes, like on the lock screws are custom, you have to thread them, and you know,
So you make your own?
00190 is a common size for me. 0090, 080 is a big screw for me. So, you know, it's, what do they say, you can make small parts on a big lathe, but you can't make big parts on a little lathe. So, it's just...
Just think of his toolbox. He can take his toolbox is in a pillbox.
I was saying it doesn't fit in the pillbox. Any particular reason you settled on 1/3 scale?
When I first started collecting tools, the first meeting I went to, it was an old gentleman, he was a pattern maker, and he had been making miniature tools for years. Don't know why he's chose a 1/3, but a 1/3 and 3/8 are your most popular miniatures in furniture or any type of thing. But what I found out is researching some of these old catalogs, the Sheffield English catalog, Stanley catalog, most everything shown in those catalogs was a 1/3 scale. So I could pick it, like one of the first braces I made, the ultimatum style brace, I was able to lift it right out of the catalog. That was back when I would take a Xerox, take it and scale, and you know, work from that. Since Al Gore invented the computer, it's made my life a lot simpler.
Is that a hands there? What's stored in the stock?
It's the patch box. This one is what they call the brass patch box. It's got a compartment in there that you store your pads and your bullets in. This one, which,
No, that's good. That's good.
This one, which is actually the earlier model, has a wooden patch box, and it's got a little clip. The thing I love about this patch, it's a sliding dovetail where the lid comes off. When you put the patch box in and close it, if you'll listen real careful, when that spring closes, you get that little click. It's a 1/3 scale sound. And another thing about these rifles, the barrels are swamped. How many people know what a swamped barrel is? My daughter drew me a picture of a swamped barrel. It was a swamp with all the, you know, the swamp grass and all. She had this barrel floating out. But what a swamp barrel is, if you look at this barrel from the top down at the breech end, it's fat, and then it tapers down to the center where it's really thin, and then it flares back up, but it doesn't flare back out at the same width as at the breech. And the reason they did it is to lighten the gun. Now you think about a 54 caliber barrel with, you know, a big long Kentucky. That's pretty heavy to hold one of those things up. So they would take the metal out of there and swap it, and not only did it lighten the barrel, it had an aesthetic appeal to the lines blending into the challenge is to inlet a barrel into a piece of wood with that, with that geometry. And, that was some pretty ingenious engineering to modify the three-dimensional pantograph to pick up and do that inletting. Can you see the carving here on the?
How many hours you got in making one?
About 10 hours.
About. More or less.
10 hours, but he spent 200 hours just making one of the parts for it.
I was joking, of course, but I don't know. I never do any miniature, whether it's a tool or rifle, gun, whatever. I never do one. I do anywhere from a minimum of 25 to a maximum of 500. So what you do is Henry Ford knew what he was doing. I mean, this mass production stuff, once you tool up and fit up your machinery, like these scraper inserts that I'm working on right now, I'm doing 60 of them, and it's so nice to, you do one operation and you just go do 59 more just like it. It's, there's something to be said about mass production.
All right, Paul, you're on again.
This is my salesman sample, so to speak. Let's see. I wonder, is there some way to, is that better?
A little better. You can actually hold each one up if you want. I'll have to back off to zoom in.
Well, unfortunately, yeah, let me get something to prop it. Is that a good enough angle?
That's good.
Okay. Well, because this thing is set up, some of the tools will slip right out, okay? Some of them are a little bit more difficult. This is a Stanley Transitional. Most of you are familiar with this style wooden plane. Third scale smoothing. I can't see the screen. Has he got a shot?
Yeah, okay.
This was a very early tool. Let me turn it sideways here. I don't know what kind of detail. Can you see the logo on the front of that?
Yeah.
That is the early Stanley stamp. It's supposed to be an eagle. I call it a skinny chicken. But every piece, every logo, every stamping is absolutely identical to the full size.
How do you cut those? Viewfinder so you can see it. Is that laser cut or?
I used to do them on a manual pantograph, and I do them on CNC. Here's an interesting for you wood turners. For you turners.
Hold it. You hold it still, and I'll follow you.
Okay.
All right, gotcha.
I was on the Roy Underhill show one time. This is a plumb bob. That's ivory made out of an old cue ball. What's unusual about this, I can put as many facets or whatever profiles you want, but this piece is made on a mill instead of a lathe. It's done with a fly cutter, and the cutter travels from top to bottom, picking up the profile as it's going down, and then it indexes to the next facet. And this is an old trick I learned from Jerry Bill. Jerry used to do a lot of these in wood, and he used a high dollar CNC milling machine to do these. I used a miniature milling machine.
Is that a conventional in-mill or CNC?
It's a fly cutter, just a little single lip fly cutter. This is a miniature of a Davis level. It's called an inclinometer. What's unique about this level, the center portion of it that's got the valves, there's 3 screws you loosen and you can articulate. There's degree markings engraved around that brass perimeter. And if you set it for 45 degrees and then you put it on a 45 degree, when that vial is level, now you've got a 45 degree angle. It has a working bubble in it. All my levels have operational vials. I did one of these in 14 karat gold one time. I still got it, and I'm thinking about scrapping it because I think I had about $300 worth of gold. I weighed it the other day. It's somewhere around $4,000 worth of gold with it. With the current price of gold. Let's see.
Have you ever lost one of the pointers on that level there?
Well, I have extras, Tommy. The little pointer on that level it's chemically machined. It's called photo etching, photo machining. It's where they put a retardant. It's kind of like the process for cutting land patterns in a circuit board. Company that did them, their minimum order was you had to have 2 sheets. I forget what size they were, 8 by 10 or whatever. And I told the guy, I said, I just want 1. He said, oh, I said, charge me for 2. I said, anyway, they screwed up the order, and I ended up getting these vials. They were $32,350. So what I made, I think I did 200 of the levels. When I mailed them out, I would get a handful, and I said, here's you some spares.
Very generous.
I don't know. Most of the tools in here are you can recognize. Stanley 45. The centerpiece here, it's called a tidy pattern. This was actually the prototype that MB Tidy manufactured. This plane sold at an antique tool auction in Pennsylvania. I bought it for one of my good customers who had very deep pockets. I paid, I think it was $32,000. I'm sitting on the front row bidding up mine. You talking about having fun. and basically I bought it, and it's been on the cover of Lee Valley Veritas' catalog a time or 2. But I manufactured, I did 50 of them in miniature. But it was one of these Rube Goldberg planes that was really not functional. It had 2 dado planes. There's 2 planes, one on each side of the body, and you can articulate them and turn them at different angles, so you can go down and plane the board and have one bevel on one side and one on the other side. It was not, it was not a practical plane. I mean, how many times do you need to make 2 different angle bevels? But it was rare, and I made miniatures of it.
What are the white knobs on the side?
Those are all ivory, made out of cue balls, recycled ivory.
How about your millers that you had so much problems with? The castings on it.
Oh, that was on the full size ones. I got a picture of it over there. Those are the full size ones that I had the problems with. Okay, this piece here. I did 500 of these. They're full size, functional. It was probably one of the most ornate metal or hand planes that was ever made. Stanley bought the patent from Miller, and I don't have one in the case, but when you see what people refer to as a Stanley Miller's patent, it was a scale down. They didn't go into the the details that was captured in this thing. They scaled it down for mass production. It's got a little resemblance to it, but not a lot. As far as the plow plane, the piece on the left here, the traditional screw arm plow, basically that was your early router, and it had eight blades in it, and its whole main purpose in life was plowing or cutting a groove in a board, for making tongue and grooves or pre-laying out panels, that you raise panels. The problem with it, you had to loosen one nut and one washer and get it balanced to move the fence in and out. That would regulate how far from the edge of the board that your cut was made. Well, that was your Volkswagen model. This guy right here, the rosewood one, You see the brass center wheel, they refer to this as a center wheel plow. It was made by Sandusky, Ohio, toolmakers made them. But the neat thing about this, it has left-handed screws on one side, right-handed on the other side, and when you turn that brass wheel, it automatically registers and moves that fence back and forth, and then you tighten your nuts. This plate here, typically in rosewood with ivory tips, was what? 18 to 20,000.
Are these about 1/3 scale?
Everything in here is 1/3 scale.
Is it 1/3 price?
Well, of course.
Yeah.
3 times.
Anyway,
if you don't mind me asking, would you sell these, obviously?
I used to.
How much would you give for something like that?
The average, in this case, the lowest piece in here is probably $100. The highest price piece is $850. The average price is about $250 to $300. Like the Stanley 45 here, I think I did 300 of those. They were $275, I think.
Unless you try to buy one on eBay.
If Jim Bodie's reselling it, exactly.
I know.
I don't have one with me, but I made little rabbit plates. It was an actual rabbit that had a blade in it. Every time I would go to a show, I had a Lincoln Mark 7, and back then you could stop and fill it up for less than 20 bucks. And I always remember every time I'd fill that Lincoln up, I said, well, there wasn't another rabbit plate. I sold them for 20 bucks a piece. I've seen them go as high as $220 on eBay.
I have one of those, not know where it came from. Yeah, about this big.
Yeah, there were 3 sizes. A big daddy, the big one, which is about, it was about 3/4. Then it had a mama, about a 1/2 inch, and then it had a little baby one. Speaking of which, let me, for the young man in the audience there, wake him up, Dad, and we will. We got a little plate here that's just right up his alley.
We need to do the rest of it again.
This is a little smoothing plate. Oops, a little smoothing plate, a coffin plate.
I think it's sharp.
But that's one of the questions, after the ladies say, oh, those are cute, then the next question is, do they work?
Yeah.
This is a goal when they would wear them, it's got a hole in the handle, they'd wear them around their neck as charms. I hate to think of how many.
What's the blade made out of them?
It's just a piece of X-Acto knife blade that's just been sharpened. Yeah.
So I saw the curl that came up on that. I thought, hey, that thing works.
It's X-Acto knife blade, a piece of that has been sharpened?
Yeah.
Like it wasn't sharp enough as an X-Acto knife?
Well, no, you cut a section of the steel out and then you sharpen.
Okay, not the.
Here's a little chair scrape. This is how scrapers are supposed to work. And if you pay attention, at the end of the day, you'll be able to go home and sharpen a scraper and make it do that. That is not dust, that is not powder. I could write your name on that board. Let's try it, see if it works. There's Paul, but he's wrinkled a little bit. He's got a little age on it. Anyway, are we ready to get started? Okay.
A couple more items to do, and then we'll go.
Oh, yeah, let's finish show and tell.
Yeah. By the way, whoever's got the artwork transferred onto the box, I'm assuming that's done with laser and what are you using to bleed through? Alcohol, naphtha?
You mean to get the powder mill?
Right. To get the powder out from the laser to the wood.
lacquer thinner in it.
I use a laser copy and put the copy
Right,
face down and
but you
rub it back with lacquer thinner.
lacquer thinner. That's what I was looking for.
You gotta get the right lacquer thinner, right? Yeah.
There's a very similar process I use for transferring artwork to metal for engraving. You look at this, pass it around. Ken Klein taught me how to do wire inlay. This is pornography wire inlay. I don't know if you can see it.
Hold on.
I got tired of wire inlay and scrolls, and C scrolls and S scrolls, so I wanted to do something different. This is 4/1000 wire. Of course, when you file it down and polish it, it spreads a little. That's one of the things that you have to put up with. But seriously, Ken needs to learn how to do this, but I can't ever get him to come out to the shop.
I'm coming.
You're coming.
Looks like a Picasso.
There's a website that's got, and I don't have it with me, but there's like 8 or 10 pictures of women. There's one lady standing up with a tall skirt, and they all did like a Picasso style. But this, for doing the wire inlay, it's just a good pattern to practice on. Be look good in the lid of a tool chest.
Or a small box.
Or a small box, yeah. Anyway, okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Jim, what are we going to do about the raffle?
It's taken care of.
Has everybody got a ticket?
It's taken care of.
No. What we're going to raffle off a scraper.
That's the start of a music box. Yeah, I did. Hey! That's the beginning of a music box. That's butternut wood, and I thought the pattern on it might be of interest to a lot of you, so I just brought it in. Just see if I can find somebody in for me.
Wire inlaying it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Won't those splines make it a little bit more complicated cutting in there?
Oh, you don't cut through those. You just cut to it and stop.
Oh, okay. So the pattern stops at the splines.
If it doesn't, he makes it stop.
Yeah. And that's this box. I started at the wood show and I just finally got it finished. Yeah.
What do you brush that with?
It's got about 6 coats of polyurethane.
Like the center of the flowers. Beautiful.
Mickey, is that a rub-on poly?
Spray, Midway spray key. Real thin coats and steel wool between each coat. Whistle.
That's George's.
George's. What do you call that? Ocarina. Bob showed us how he made ocarinas. I borrowed his and took it home. Of course, I didn't have the proper tools. I didn't have the proper wood. I didn't have the proper knowledge. That came up real short. He looked at it just momentarily this morning. He only found about 17 things wrong with it just a minute. But it was fun trying.
Number one, it doesn't play right now.
Bob managed to get a sound out of it.
I'm a little ashamed to share those things after seeing some of this other stuff out here. There's just a couple molds I brought. I think that one's cherry with a Danish oil finish on it. And the other one is leaf maple with Liberon finishing oil finish.
I want to comment on that one. If you'll notice, it's almost absolutely symmetrical.
Yeah.
The way he did that, inside and out.
Yeah.
Wow. Pretty neat.
That's nice.
I made a banjo using a cookie tin because it was quick and easy. But I got a little carried away on the neck and it got a little fancy, so I decided it needed a fancier pot to go with it. So this is my first segmented construction. And of course, in order to turn this and make this, I had to make some tooling because I had no way to hold it on the lathe. This is goat skin on top. It's fishing line, which is still stretching. Not quite as bright a sound as you'd get from steel. But of course, I got all done with this, and my wife decided that was the best thing I had ever made, and never mind all the other stuff. So
You
this
probably-
I'm not allowed to get rid of, and I have to keep this.
You probably got orders for 8 more, right?
No. So since it was going to get dragged around some, I decided it needed a case. So now it's down to Home Depot, grab a couple of cedar fence pickets, back to the shop, and slap together a case for it.
You slap together stuff pretty good.
So
And they could always use it as a baby coffin too.
So this is still my very first banjo.
That's a pretty impressive prototype, Bob.
It's getting better.
Yeah. Mike Peace. I saw some pictures on the internet for these business card holders, so I made some business card holders, and basically you turn a disc and cut it in half, and then you take a little dowel, you turn it and you cut a slot in it and put it together. And then this, I saw a demonstration on making this finished jar, and I thought, oh, that's kind of cool.
Hey, Mike, I can't do that.
Okay, all right. Anyhow, well, I want to show Bob. So I was asking Bob Black, and he has a lot of answers on how to fix things, how to fasten together. He says, I'll do you one better. He says, I've got one of those kits that I've never put together. So he gave me the kit, and I put it together. And then the last item is this ambrosia maple bowl. It's pretty.
Wow. What kind of things you get on the bowl?
That's Minwax antique oil, and the nice thing about Minwax, it's stuff in a red can, is you can get it at your Ace Hardware, so you don't have to go to Rockler or drive a long way or order it.
Mike did mention that business card holder. It's an article in this month's AAW magazine.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so yeah, that's my first pin.
Hey.
My dad.
What kind of wood is it?
Yeah.
Tree.
I don't know. Let's find out.
I bet I know who made this.
Suspect we all do.
Is this your Georgia Fair entry?
Yeah, this is something I made for the Georgia National Fair that's coming up here. And it was inspired by something I wrote a couple of years ago, last year. And I'll give you the name in just a minute. I'm not on the weather committee this year. Don't know what happened. But in former years, when I was on the committee, I was assigned to the Thunder and Clouds subcommittee. And our job was rounding up the scattered clouds and creating thunderstorms. It was fun, enjoyed it, shifting the clouds around about in the sky. Once in a while, we'd rattle the windows with a loud clap of thunder. It was hilarious hearing people say, "What's that?" as they ran for cover. Occasionally, we would stir up enough wind to blow some trees around, clutter up the lawn with debris. That made people sit up and take note. Once in a while, we would uproot some old trees. People just hated it. When we would blow over special trees that someone planted as a child. As bad as that might seem, it did convince some of the people that one doesn't mess with Mother Nature. I can't describe the roar of laughter that came over the weather committee when the heat and cold task force sent a snowstorm in the south in the spring and a heat wave in the north in the winter. People running around in all directions not knowing what to do. But we couldn't believe our ears when we heard the experts debating whether Al Gore's comment about global warming was correct or if all the weather was just a result of some freakish weather cycle. It tugged at our hearts as we watched reckless people filling the landfills with things that could be repaired cheaper than replaced. We almost cried as we witnessed a lack of respect for the environment.
Finding it.
When possible, the Clouds and Thunder Subcommittee would blacken the sky with dark, heavy clouds, shaking the area with enough thunder to wake the dead, hoping to awaken people to what they're doing to our planet. Since I'm not on the weather committee this year, maybe we can convince people to spend more time preserving the sanctity of God's green earth. Heavenly Father, we know that you have the whole world in your hands, and that includes the environment and the weather it produces. So help us, O Lord, to realize that life, which the environment sustains, is a holy gift from thee, to be used wisely and not wasted foolishly, to be enjoyed and not treated frivolously. This is, would you believe it? This is an Al Gore birdhouse. Strictly ecologically sensitive. The shingles are made out of Kroger cornflakes boxes. Here is a water solar panel to heat water for the little radiator in here in the birdhouse. Over here is an electric solar panel to heat, to generate electricity for the lamp and for the TV that's inside the birdhouse. And following the trend of Apple and other, I think, the Mac computer, this is a chirp TV. And the symbol is a little bird chirping. That's it. And of course, the onus, and everything is removable. And even this turns the paddle fan on the inside. The paddle fan outside is made of throat paddles. These are ice cream spoon sticks. Here is, everything is removable. Here's a little mirror. My flowers are made out of chips off of Forstner bit turnings. The only thing that is real is the bird's nest, which I salvaged from some other place. The eggs are made out of dowels, and even the little lamp was carved with a lathe. Everything is removable so I can get to it if I need to. Everything comes off. And of course, the chests here are not so much for decorations, but it is there that I support the screws that hold it to the base. And so, and of course on the back is a stamp which has a bird on it. And shown on the Turk TV is a cardinal sitting up there watching it. And of course, everything is made to sort of take apart and repair it. And it goes pretty good together. And the blade is made to pick up as much wind as possible. And if you talk about making a little picture frame, the TV screen is made out of 1/4-inch wood. Cutting a 1/4-inch L-shaped wood on a 10-inch table saw is a chore.
How many fingers you got, Wayne?
I forgot them all. But also the little picture frame that I made, which is a 1/8 inch by a 1/2 inch with a rabbit inside. That's another chore. But anyway, this is my A Gore birdhouse, Al Gore birdhouse, for whatever it's worth. I know I'm off the wall sometime, but
Really? I didn't know that.
just but if you're going to do it,
Amen.
do it right. Do it all the way. And so this is a serious problem. Oh, I forgot to show you the skylights. The skylights here and all of this is to allow things to come in and so forth.
What about these papers over here?
Yeah, I think we got one last thing there.
What's that?
Carl warned me there was a story behind it.
Hold it up and I'll
For some reason, 25 years ago when I first started scroll sawing, I found an advertisement of an old scroll saw, so I thought it was pretty cool, and that was probably 1920s or so. So I tore out the magazine and framed it and put it on the wall. 350 items later, I found these. This is from the
point this way.
1880s, mid-1885s or so. And it's a newspaper type print, which opens up with different scroll saw patterns in it.
Wow. Gee. Let me zoom in on one of them. Hold on. Hold it still. Yeah. Good. Yeah.
So some people redraw these and sell them as new patterns, which I'm not going to mention his name, but but he claims that the patterns are his. And this past week, I found this book. I believe it's from England. Sorrento, I believe, is English for scroll saw or something. I don't have any idea. If anybody has a Google translator.
It's a location in Italy, I believe, where they do a lot of inlay work.
Okay. But this book is, as far as the book is concerned, is worthless. But I found it kind of interesting.
What's the date on that again?
This is 1876.
Wow.
You can see a lot of the pages are just falling out. There's 3 pages missing out of this book. But this is one thing I found interesting. One of the previous owners tried on this page to draw their own patterns, which is pretty cool.
They're pretty small. They have to take and get them enlarged from there.
Did they have enlarging machines back then?
Pantographs.
And this one I thought was really, this is one advertisement that I haven't found yet besides this book. And can you imagine George standing there all day long against this cabinet, eye to eye with his table saw? I just thought that was pretty interesting.
But it says lathe.
Well, this is the lathe and this is the scroll saw.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
Is there more than one pedal to make it
An
go?
early shopsmith.
It's a grizzly. It's an early grizzly lathe.
There's a few more advertisements from old scroll saws in here.
That's amazing.
But so far, this is my second oldest item that I've found. And I'm looking for a newer book with all the pages. But like I said, I'm sure it has no monetary value except for somebody that collects advertising.
Thank you.
Nice.
Any other show and tell items? No? Okay.
Looks like, is Mike here?
That's mine. That's mine.
Okay.
Yeah, Mike Peace and I were in.
No, you were in that same workshop?
Mike Peace and I were in a workshop with Joe Whimsical. Joe Whimsical, the former AAW board member, and he was the Chattanooga woodturners up at Laxton's Belmont shop. So we went, and I need more classes on turning. So I went, and I learned a couple of things, but mainly not the rope twist, focus in on that stem if you look up. But I'd never done that, and I knew how it was done, but I'd never actually done it myself. It's really lightning fast. I did that whole rope twist stem in 10 or 12 minutes. And he makes it real simple, it is really fast, and it's pretty cool. So anyway, that's from the class. We did another project which kind of relates to time, but that one I got something I learned.
You can include that in there what you do.
Behind.
I made that about a month ago. Had an operation. They set the rod for a month. I picked up the wood measure and noticed the tops worked real good on me. From sitting out in all that heat. But anyhow,
Nice job.
I got it off the web, one of the sites George had provided. And the other thing there is to measure height of a router bit. It allows you to go up to almost 3 inches from the deck up. You
set it on top of your router bit, and it pushes that up in the measure with the top line. I saw one on YouTube. I think somebody you said was in a.
Well, well, Shop Notes. So Shop Notes, Woodsmith sends out a weekly thing, and that was one of the things that they just had in the recent one.
I was able to get out yesterday and work for a couple of hours, so I put that together just to see how it would work.
How did it work?
I haven't used it. I just got it made.
Well, the slot in here too is, you can set it on your router bit to tell you the height of the router bit, and the slot here is for the table saw. So you can put it over the table saw blade, and it'll set your table saw.
I was thinking about accuracy.
Well, you cut it flush there and set that down to 0 there, and then when you bring it,
right, yeah.
So
the accuracy depends on the currency of your eyeglass prescription.
Yeah.
To see it, be able to see that ruler.
I guess that's mine. How many of you are familiar with Kilroy was here? Oh, I figured I wouldn't have that much turnout. I figured
Not
anybody.
many young people in here.
I figured young people when you get here, anybody under 75 might not remember it. But do you know how it started?
How did it start?
Well, let me get my notes right quick.
Uh-oh.
Back during World War II, in a shipbuilding yard, they used to pay the riveters by the number of rivets they got in during the time they were employed. And they had a checker that would go around and check them. He counted them. But he would count them, and he had a chalk that he would mark each one of them when he counted it. And the guys got going behind him and erasing it, so when the next checker came in, they would count them and they were getting double pay. So they called this guy in that was doing the check and said, you got to find some way to stop that. And his name was Kilroy. So he started putting, when he checked him, he put Kilroy on it. And then somebody else came along and said Kilroy was here. And of course the soldiers picked up on that, and they spread it all over the United States, all over the world, as a matter of fact. And some of the guys that would go into these foreign countries at night and lay out the work for the guys to land the next day, they'd find a big rock somewhere. They put Kilroy here, so when the troops came in the next morning, they thought they were the first ones there. They walked up, here's a big sign saying Kilroy was here. And so that's how it started. And, it started out, of course, it looked more like this. I mean, it's just, real easy to put on there. And I just turned it into 3D.
Oh, okay.
My chance to show.
Do it.
You don't hardly know me yet, and this is how bad I am.
Fit right in.
Oh, good, good. This is actually my first electric guitar. I did the top in swamp ash, and the back in ash. The stripes are walnut. The neck, of course, is bird's eye maple. And this is, I'm not sure, I think it's just a tiger wood of some sort. You all probably know better than I do, as a novice. But, yeah, I really enjoy doing this.
What's it sound like?
It sounds great. I even wound the pickups, so it's kind of like, wow. It isn't that hard. It's just about holding that wire. This little motion with your hand as the spindle turns.
What's your finish on it?
Yeah. It's lacquer. Lacquer, and I did not do the whole finish. I got it started, and I needed some help on it, or it was getting ugly. So I got a good, real pro to put a good finish on it.
Beautiful.
It's a bone nut, things like that, things you can do it the right way. So
how many have you made so far?
I like to say 3.5, or 2.5, depending on how you take credit for one of them. So, which was the one I got a lot of assistance with. Yeah, and acoustic is really what I build is just to prove that I could build electric if I was asked to.
Why?
That's probably why I build them. I really lack the talent level it takes to go anywhere with it.
By the time you get to number 12, you ought to be pretty good at it.
I hope so. I hope so. I had a friend recently call me and say that, you know, he just met a man, he's 90 years old, and he's making mandolins still. That's who I want to be. So.
What style of guitar is it?
Style, this would be, what, Stratocaster?
A Strat?
Yeah, Telecaster. This is a Telecaster style. I call it a Tonycaster.
And you just got the one pickup, or I've never seen anything.
There's no, you never see this part. It's called the ashtray, and they usually get lost. So, yeah, there's a pickup under there. So.
And that's a bolt-on there?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Or screws, more accurately.
It's what?
It screws, more accurately. Yeah. But I think she's pretty sexy. Obviously, it's distorted my view of the world. So, okay.
Well,
beautiful job.
Yeah.
Good.
You're going to have to do a class because I got too many questions.
Oh, I'm really new at this.
How do you radius the fretboard? It looks like it has a
There's
radius.
a company. There is indeed. There's a company called Stuart Martin. You may know. And I bought the tools to put the correct radius on it. It's the big.
Like a scraper or a sander or something.
Sandpaper. Yeah. Like you start with an 80 to 120 to 220 kind of thing.
When did you start inlaying?
Pardon? Well, oh, you know, I've been online lately and just ordered way too much. This is a hollowed out body also, which of course affects the sound is what you're trying to achieve. But
nice job.
Thank you.
So then I got another question. Is there a formula? It's a hollowed out body, is it?
Yes, sir.
Is there a formula for how many cubic inches or anything that you need?
There might be, but I didn't pay attention to anything like that. I was thrilled to be hollowing it out. It's just a lot of routing, you know. So, but I got a new router now, I'm really excited to say, with many horsepower. So I ought to be able to do more and better. So.
Cool.
This is a piece that I just completed recently, about to deliver it tomorrow. It was built to the specifications for my granddaughter's room. She needed a place to put children's books and, you know, typical little treasures that a 3-year-old would collect. As I was talking with my daughter about, you know, what kind of style she wanted, we pretty much decided on arts and crafts, and everything that I kept seeing in the children's bookcase kind of a thing had a V for a shelf, and we decided that wasn't gonna work quite right. So I just decided to make a straight shelf with through tenons and pegs to hold everything together, and then to add some arts and crafts embellishment to it, I cut some hearts in the ends, and then some of our members here gave me some patterns and so forth for the flowers that I cut into the back. Decided it needed a little more decoration than just a plain back.
Be a shame to put books in so you can't see your decoration.
Yeah.
Is it permanently assembled or does it knock down?
It knocks down.
What was
the only thing was the pegs aren't all that uniform. I mean, with hand cutting those through tenons and then hand cutting the pegs and all the requisite holes, you wind up with some little tolerances here and there. So you got to kind of pick and choose the pegs and which holes they go into.
You know, Bob, that adds character to it because it lets people know that it wasn't factory made and everything in it.
Yeah.
It adds to it rather than distracting from it, really.
Mm-hmm. Every time you knock it down and take it apart and then put it together again, you got a little head scratching session. One of the things that I did do is I marked the shelves to figure out, which one is the upper and which one is the right side and all that kind of thing. So that aids a lot. And then it's a bit of a game to figure out where the pegs go.
How is the back held on?
Friction.
Just between the two ends?
It's held on between the two ends, yep. So I didn't have any kind of a restraint in there.
There's a dado in there, isn't there?
Yeah.
There's a dado in each of the end pieces.
I don't know if Dan's getting.
Yeah, Dan's got a good shot of it there.
What kind of wood's that, Bob?
Oak.
Oh,
Yeah.
Red oak.
Yeah.
And the finish on it is what?
It's got a wipe-on finish of cherry. So I forget what the exact color name was. I think it was yeah, Mission Cherry, I believe, was the wipe-on finish, and then an NGR top on top of that of Van Dyke Brown, and then nitrocellulose lacquer on top of that. Numerous coats of that hand rubbed. I was trying to do whatever I could to make it as kid-proof and as cat-proof as possible.
Good luck.
Yeah.
And it was a little bit too big, and it was just one bear holding up kind of a platter thing. And so I shrunk it down in size and adapted it to this style of table. It also came with a frowning bear, so I turned the mouth thing upside down to make him smile.
Why would you make a kid toy with a frowning bear?
Dad, did you come up with a pattern, or did you get the pattern from somewhere?
No, I got the pattern, this Winfield outfit.
Yeah.
Does all these patterns for silhouette things. But it wasn't the right size.
You're resistant.
Yeah.
Very good, thank you.
Guitar. There's no strings on that.
Yeah, I think it's missing.
Oh, okay, yeah.
That's when you want to play air guitar.
All I know is I saw somebody taking a picture, and they had their picture, their camera inside of here.
Yeah.
This is a guitar. It's something I was in the works of, so I can just kind of show you the process of working the guitar, putting it together. It's mahogany, all mahogany except for the top spruce. Kind of see how the process goes. You know, it's done with a whole bunch of templates. It's really all about templates.
And I'm going to turn it just down a little bit for you.
Is that all glued up the way it is right now, or just
Yes.
setting it?
Yes.
So you glue the whole front on before you put any holes in or anything?
You know what? I designed this intentionally with this what's called a side port. You know, when you play the guitar, you want to hear it.
Oh, so the hole on the outside. I thought that was a
It
carrying
was for
handle.
me.
I saw you walking in there with it as a carrying handle, so I'm like, well, that's different.
We'll leave this down here. So
Can you tell us some more about the vent port on the top?
I can do sound port. We call them sound ports.
Yeah.
It really placed it intentionally to let me hear the sound of the guitar. It's kind of selfish behavior, I think.
Yeah.
But, there's a whole lot of guitar designs out there, placing them differently. Truth is, you may see my pencil lines. I really couldn't decide where I was going to put it until I could stabilize it up to the template so I could get in there, round it out.
Okay.
Is that mahogany on the sides?
Yes, sir. The neck and body are mahogany.
Spruce front, or what is the front?
Oh, that's spruce.
Does it make a difference for the people, like if you're playing it and I'm standing here, whether the hole is on the front or the side, would somebody hear it?
I don't think it's a huge difference. It will still project.
edges on a decent blade. Piece of MDF, glue a strip, or screw a strip on it. Stack all your strips in there, and whatever width it is, and don't go over 18 inches in my case, because that's the width of my planer. And then you put another strip in wedges, put them together with epoxy, and then saw them out. Run them through the planer, and typically you don't have, I don't worry too much about the glue up. So when you dress them, you end up, from running 3/4 lumber, you end up with about a 1/2 inch. We had one, we had a glue joint fail after about 25 years of normal use in our kitchen. So they hold up pretty well. They're fairly simple. West epoxy.
How do you get that apple?
It's inlaid. That's my signature cutting board, Inlay, because my wife drew me an apple 25 or 30 years ago, and I've still got the template. And I run, you know, the collar on an 1/8 inch bit, and when you do the recess, that's safe. Your router can't go past the template. When you use the same template to route out the maple, you got to be real careful to hold that puppy against the template. And I ruined about 1 in 4.
You gotta feel sorry for somebody that can only make them 18 inches wide because that's the size of his planer. How do you keep a planer bigger than 13 inches? Okay, anyway, I thought I'd bring that up. Yeah.
Well, I'm out of balance because my jointer's only 16.
Yeah. That's twice as big as mine.
But he also said he didn't have one of those because he didn't need one.
Doesn't mean he doesn't want it.
Yeah, well, that's right. Yeah. If he was free, he would take it. But
Okay, through
next
year. Okay. Yeah, that was when we first started talked about doing a presentation on these boards. I was looking at different ones, and I had the same pattern that was actually showed on a demo on YouTube by the Wood Whisperer. And I'm not sure where he got the pattern. But Ron's made several of those and brought them in at different types of cutting boards, not that one in particular. But then I had those things all laying out on a thing there, and I was trying to look for contrasting wood. And the Purple Heart was the stuff that they gave away like 50 cents a board foot at Hardwoods Incorporated, and I bought a bunch of it. So I just cut some of those off and threw them in there, and this and that, and pretty much it's done, but scraps and went together really good. So now I'm just going to make a bunch of them. I have no idea what I'm going to do with any of these because I don't sell anything. So by the time you have them laying around your house, you know, I got a closet full of now stuff I don't know what I'm going to do with, but I'll just add that to it.
Christmas dinner.
But that's some walnut, maple, Purple Heart, and stuff on the end. I'm not sure if that was Babinga or looks like it from here.
You can make step stools out.
Okay. About the right size.
Ladders.
Those are mine. We got a couple of different things. I was at a show. Let me get over here. I was at a show somewhere, and somebody said to me, "You know what I make a lot of that sells really well?" He said, "I make mason jar lids." And I thought, what's a mason jar lid, and how are you going to thread it and all that? He said, "Oh no, you take the rings and you put them in a lid." And I said, "Man, I can't even visualize what that is. Send me some pictures." And about a week after the show, the pictures showed up in a box. For those of you who can't see them, this is what they sent me. So I didn't make
Send it over here
this.
so I can.
Okay.
Okay.
So I didn't make those.
Yeah, good. Perfect.
But they don't have the lid in them, or the lid goes on.
The lid goes on the jar.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, so they sent me these, and I'm thinking, that's kind of goofy. You know, this one's orange and it's glued together, and that looks bad. And what about cross grain if you're making out of 2x, and gee, you're wasting a lot of wood. So my wife looked at them, and when she who must be obeyed speaks, after 43 years of marriage, I don't even question it. She says, "You have to make these." I said, okay. She said, "And you have to make them out of Stratabond." Stratabond is the colored plywood. And I said, well, okay, but this stuff is fairly expensive. And I thought, well, what can I do to increase the yield? So I split them in two and glued a dowel in them, and that way I can hold them in my little dowel chuck and turn this. And I was also real concerned about the grain and the strength, but it's fine. So what you have when you buy a mason jar at Walmart, they come with everything, come with the jar and the lid there and the ring. So this takes a 2 7/8 Forster bit. I think they sell them here. Now, matter of fact, I'm positive because I bought one and I made these on Friday. So anyway, she's right. And this is these two are made out of the same material. I just got different layers. I finished them with a spray finish from Home Depot. This is in the matte finish because it doesn't show the ripples and stuff as much. These two are also made out of, it's the same piece that I just split right down the middle. But I didn't get it exactly in the middle, so on this one the purple showed, and on this one the black layer showed. But they're all the same. I glued this in with Aleene's tacky glue because it dries clear and it stays flexible. And they're fully functional. And
so how thick is the piece of Stratabond before you split it?
About 2. Around 2. The actual ring, the ring itself in here is a little over 5/8, so it's not 3/4. My concern was the cross grain here, that it wouldn't hold up, but actually it does. It's just kind of interesting to get everything centered up and to drill a 2 7/8 inch hole with a Forster bit. That's the interesting part.
Would you say the name of the glue you used again?
It's called Aleene's Tacky Glue. It's a craft glue. It'll glue pretty much anything to anything. It'll glue wood to paper, wood to glass, glass to wood, spaghetti noodles to pasta. I don't know. It glues about everything, and it dries totally clear.
Did you use Aleene's to glue the lid to the wood, or just the
Yes.
handle?
No, I used CA for the dowel, but you could just as easily use yellow glue. I couldn't wait for it to dry, and really this was just an experiment. These are the first 4 I've made out of probably what'll be several thousand.
Do you split and then drill your holes, or do you drill your holes, flip stock, drill your holes?
I drilled an 1/8 inch hole all the way through first. That way it centered my large bit because I split it and then drilled on the 1/8 inch pilot hole. Then on the other side I could turn around and hit the little 1/2 inch dowel hole. Now as you can see, he just made them all out of one. If the grain runs this way, you got cross grain situation there, that's going to break off probably within a week or so, which is something I didn't like. If it's end grain, then you're talking about turning this out of a huge log. Okay, I mean it'll all work, but this is my solution. Okay, quick, easy, and I got twice the yield because if you're going to leave the knob on, all this is waste wood. This stuff is kind of expensive. What's in here, you guys are welcome to look at them. I'm going to be doing a class for the turners on some of my production techniques, and I'm going to show you how I do these real quick. But I'll leave these here. You can look at them afterwards.
Ron, where do you get the glue?
Michael's, Hobby Lobby. It's craft stuff.
There's also
Walmart, yeah.
Okay, cool.
Carl showed me this
It's like a
100 years ago.
for a 4-ounce bottle.
It comes in a couple different varieties, though. So just
Okay.
they got a fast dry and
Well, get the fast dry.
yeah. But it's
Okay.
they got 3 different varieties.
And these are acorns out of the Stratabond slip fit. I've modified the acorns for years and years. I made actual acorns that laid down, and my wife says, she's a lot smarter than I am, by the way, if you hadn't figured that out. She said, if they stood up, that'd be great. And I said, it's going to ruin the look. She says, try it. You just try it. So now that's all I make. All right, that's it for me.
On the
Listen to your wives.
on the Aleene's tacky glue, there's a very close equivalent to that with the Type Bond molding glue they've got.
Does it work as well?
Doesn't work as well? Okay.
From my side, it doesn't work as well.
Well, I haven't got any,
It's too, for some reason, the viscosity is,
viscosity is less.
well, to me, what I had was thicker.
Really? Okay.